We have this tweet from Matthew Iglesias, and he asked an interesting question. He says, I'm a very literal-minded person, but I don't understand the idea of a guy currently losing the race for the GOP presidential nomination debating a Democrat who isn't running. I want to pause real quick and say, just because DeSantis may be dropping in polls doesn't mean he shouldn't be debating anybody. No, I mean, he's trying to win, so he's going to do this. But it is an interesting question of why Ron DeSantis, who's in second place, is debating a guy who's not running for office. So we have the story here from Politico. DeSantis agrees to debate Gavin Newsom on Fox News. The California governor has been trying to get his Florida Republican counterparts to engage. On Wednesday, he got it. Okay, so serious question. Why do you guys think these guys are going to debate? Like, what's the point?
Well, I think you mentioned it before the show. I mean, I think they are both trying to gain attention. I think that they both would ultimately like to be the people who are facing off on the ticket. I think if they had done this at the height of COVID when they both had such different strategies, it would be a really interesting conversation. For now, it just seems like their establishments are trying to rally around them and make it seem like they are really the people in charge. Especially interesting because Joe Biden is the incumbent.
Yeah, this strikes me as like a measuring contest. They're going to whip it out and see who has a bigger GDP. Whose state's bigger.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I think that's what they're going to do. Newsom's going to be like, in California, we did this, and Ron's going to be like, you got poop in the streets everywhere.
I hope he does say that.
Yeah, I
think this would have been so much more interesting if this was done 6 months ago before DeSantis announced that he was running for president.
Yeah.
Because this is a legitimate debate, how California handled COVID versus how Florida handled COVID. If you could have two states that are like case studies against each other, it would be great. Yeah, and the American people really want to know that. And a critique of Ron DeSantis since he launched his campaign is this is what he should have launched his campaign on.
Absolutely.
Instead of attacking Trump personally or having his surrogates attack Trump, he should have just constantly been talking about what they did during COVID, and people could make the comparison for themselves without feeling that he or his people were attacking Trump. So maybe this is his attempt to reset his campaign since it was kind of a slow rollout, to use a kind word there. DeSantis, I think, is just so bitter that Joe Biden is going to be the nominee for 2024. He just can't believe it.
DeSantis or Newsom?
Or Newsom.
Newsom, yeah.
I think Newsom's going to be the Democrats' guy.
Yeah, this looks like this is Newsom's coming out party. This is like him announcing he's going to run for president, basically. Why would he be debating a presidential candidate?
And I said this last night, and I'll say it again. The best possible scenario for Democrats is Joe Biden at a rally. Newsom is there as a surrogate, just in support. Health issue affects Joe Biden, panicked in front of a crowd and in front of television. Newsom runs full speed to render first aid. Panic ensues. Newsom then does the press rounds of the guy. What was it like? What was going through your mind?
Rolling up his sleeves.
Yep. Yeah. Taking the jacket off, losing his tie, and then screaming for help, and then putting on every single television network. What was it like when you saved the president's life? That is the best case scenario Democrats could have to get this guy in the race.
I would also like to, I think that is the best case scenario. It makes me wonder, as we know, Joe Biden famously spends most of his weekends, almost all of them, in Delaware, where one could maybe potentially get secret medical treatment. I wonder if there will be, I'm just going to say, I don't know. I'm just, it's just hypothetical. I wonder if, sort of along the same lines, we're going to get an announcement that tragically Joe Biden has some sort of terminal illness that won't allow him to continue. So though he wanted to, we've got to have someone else come forward, and this will place Newsom as the obvious contender.
It depends on how sneaky and capable you think Democrats are. Because if Joe Biden says, I'm sick, that's really damaging for the Democrats as a brand. They're a sickly leader, and they were forced to replace him. Gavin Newsom then steps into the fray as a second-tier Joe Biden. Nah, it's not going to fly. Trump is winning in the polls. And even with the scenario described, I do not see a landslide possibility, right? You'd think about you go back in time when the country is a bit more cohesive, a president having a heart attack on stage and someone running out and saving his life with CPR, that guy's going to have an approval rating in the 80s or 90s. And he says something like, I may disagree, we may be political rivals, but we were all Americans, and they're going to be screaming and cheering. Yeah. Even with something like that, Democrats would not be able to muster landslide level votes because people are torn apart. People hate the Democrats. But if the Democrat route is Joe Biden is weak and bows out, Trump wins.
I don't think you're wrong. I'm just saying it's probably, again, depending on what they're able to stage, it's probably simpler if they just say Joe Biden has to exit. He's not going to be around.
Super simple, but failing.
Yeah.
They'd lose face if they did that. I think Newsom.
I just don't know what the odds are. Like I said, we got to check the calendar, see when they're going to appear on stage together, and all get prepared to watch.
If they do, I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just like, look, if you were to ask me, we talk about January 6th. That video comes out where the police chief is basically saying someone may have wanted this to happen. It's a cover up. January 6th was the best thing for Democrats. It's giving them everything. It's giving them the Insurrection Act to remove people from office. They got that guy, Coy Griffin, I think his name was, removed from office. They said, oh, he was an insurrectionist. Now they're indicting Trump. They did the January 6th committees. It may not be as effective as they hope it is, but it is their weapon. Mm-hmm. Thinking in that context, I've said, if Donald Trump did not stop the rioting on May 29th in D.C., he'd still be president because the narrative would be inverted. In that same context, I'm thinking forward. What could the Democrats do that would guarantee a victory or at least to a certain degree, rapidly accelerate their possibility of winning? And it's Gavin Newsom on camera on every major network performing CPR on Joe Biden and saving his life.
It also explains why he would leapfrog Kamala Harris.
There's
Exactly.
one Democrat.
And how they get Joe Biden out of the race and Gavin in as the front runner.
There's one Democrat who doesn't want Joe Biden to bow out. One.
Jill?
No.
Joe Biden?
This is a quote from Barack Obama in November of 2020. This is what he said. If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in or a front man or front woman to be president and they had an earpiece in and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff and I could sort of deliver the lines while someone was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
And Joe Biden was like, I'm your man. Don't even worry about it.
No, they were like, Joe Biden, you're the man.
But it doesn't have to be Joe Biden. Newsom
no way that he would let Barack Obama control him via an earpiece.
Absolutely he would. Newsom is a lizard person. I mean, that figuratively media matters calm down. He's going to be like, tell me what to do, because he's just a slimy guy who wants power. He doesn't care.
I think there's two different camps of Democrats, though. There's like the corrupt Chicago people, and then there's the California people, right? Like Nancy Pelosi came from California politics. Schumer came from California politics. Like
And Newsom and Pelosi are like indirectly related, right? Am I totally wrong?
Are they?
I'm going to double check that.
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't Schumer. It was Adam Schiff came from California, not Schumer.
Schumer's in New York.
Yeah. There's like this California breed of Democrats who are very radical left, and then there's the Chicago breed, and they're kind of in competition with each other because they both want to be the leaders of the Democrats in Washington, D.C. So I don't think that he would listen to Barack Obama the way that Biden would.
So like the Clinton-Obama camp, Biden, all that that's like a unique kind of structure within that system, and then there's other people like that's interesting.
Newsom was his uncle by marriage was Nancy Pelosi's brother-in-law, so they were at one point very indirectly related. I will say
they do have a lot in common. You know, they both didn't wear masks when they instructed everyone else to.
Yeah,
in California,
they can do whatever they want. I will say, I actually am super open. I am critical of debates because I feel like these big stage, you have 6, 12 candidates on where they scream at each other and try to get their viral moments. It's not effective. We're not learning anything about policy. It's whatever. But I think one-on-one debates, I mean, you see this with culture war, can be really effective. And having governors face off, especially on issues where their states in particular become representations of cultural differences, that would be super cool.
Yeah,
like, I would love to see the governor of Washington debate the governor of Idaho on the abortion travel law, right? There are things that could be good about this format. I'm just saying right now, this is obviously playing into the presidential candidate as opposed to the welfare of their states.
There are two factions in this country that we here at Timcast are unable to book. And it is prominent leftist personalities and the DeSantis campaign.
I had someone tell me that they don't want to come on IRL, someone who's for DeSantis say, well, IRL's too pro-Trump, so it's not even worth going on. But I feel like it is worth coming on to at least talk about it. But they
weird.
Feel like they're walking into a hostile environment.
We had Lance from the Surfs and Vosh come on this show. We had Emma from the Majority Report come on the show, but
What would you ask them if they came on the show?
We would have any DeSantis supporter on the show the same as we're having you on the show, and we would talk about the exact same things. But they've explicitly said they won't have people on the show, and so we're actually supposed to have a big culture war show, not this week, next week, debating between two supporters of DeSantis, a DeSantis supporter and a Trump supporter, and the DeSantis supporter just said he wants to back out because he's now backing Trump. And we were trying to get someone from DeSantis' campaign. We can't do it.
Yeah. Because I think that's actually what
they won't do
I feel like you want in particular, but to have a variety of opinions, that's actually better. I think you never really want to be a part of the echo chamber, and that's why you need to have people from both sides. It's interesting that they are choosing, even though the invitation is open.
It is funny that it's easier for us to get leftists than it is to get DeSantis supporters.
You got to say they'll do it.
To be fair, we had John Cardillo on the show, right? So it's not like we don't get any, of course. And he stated his case.
The weird part is I can't tell the difference between Cardillo and anybody else. Like, I don't care I really don't mind the politics. You know, I would love to debate Marxism with the Marxist. I want to know more about it. Like, tell me.
Yeah,
tell
I
me.
think that's the thing. You want to have more information, and especially like if you had someone who was on the DeSantis campaign here, we could ask more specific questions about what's going on, and they could answer them.
Yeah, I'm a manifest. So if we start manifesting, they will come on.
We might. So what we're thinking for the next tomorrow, we have Alex Stein and Modine coming on.
Are they going to fight right here at this table?
Fire.
No, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with the show. But then the next week, the question was: do we ask the former DeSantis supporter, now Trump supporter, to just bow out, and we'll find someone who's backing DeSantis, or do we actually just keep the booking as it is and then hear the arguments as to why he no longer does and why he did? It's tough because there are a few people I could probably reach out to John Cardillo and ask him if he wants to come on and debate pro DeSantis. I think Kurt Schlichter might be a DeSantis supporter. I'm not entirely sure. There's a handful that are in the bag for in the corner for DeSantis. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we just keep it as it is and hear why this guy no longer supports DeSantis, or should we try and get somebody else?
I think Cardillo would be interesting just because he was so gung ho. I wonder if he's still as gung ho as he was in the past.
I'm just gonna say who it is.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I won't say who the person is who's no longer backing DeSantis because that's their private business to announce. But Laura Loomer will be coming on, and then we are looking for someone who is a DeSantis supporter. So
I feel
That would
like
be the debate.
it would be interesting to hear this person's perspective of why they were for DeSantis and then change. In terms of a debate, like to keep that spirit of culture war alive, I do feel like you have to find someone from the
Right.
DeSantis camp. And like,
they won't do it.
well, the question is like,
I agree
You've
with-
had a lot of people on. Like maybe there are DeSantis people who have been on the show before who would be willing to do it if
John Cardillo,
specifically
maybe?
asked. Maybe.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.